Hey, it's Sam, and I'm making this quick update about a few things that are going on astrologically. Right now we have both Mercury and Jupiter retrograde. Now, these are the two planets, Jupiter and Mercury, that have to do with intelligence and wisdom. Literally, they sound like the same thing. We throw terms around so sort of loosely, but Mercury has to do with intelligence, which comes from experience and testing our beliefs. That's how we become really intelligent about something, and that's what also leads to greater wisdom. So wisdom is actually when our beliefs and inspirations become tested and lived and experienced rather than just remaining theoretical. Jupiter is the planet of our theories and our big ideas about, well, I think this, and we have a lot of untested theories about what we believe in many ways, not just about, the meaning of life or, religion or something, but about all kinds of things. But Mercury is the one that challenges and questions our own beliefs as well as the beliefs of others and puts it into practice by trying it and experimenting on it, and also doing research to find out if those things make sense. Like the perfect example is a sort of scientific skeptic who doesn't believe in the fables and the fairy tales that surround all religions. So that kind of hyper-literalist bent is a kind of extreme expression of Mercury, whereas just believing anything is another extreme. So these are both two detrimental extremes of Mercury, but a reasonable approach with Mercury energy is to, first of all, be able to hold the paradox of, things being right but not necessarily literal, understanding metaphor. In fact, it even says, as it relates to Mercury, Mercury governs metaphoric speech. So those who want to be skeptics and just find the worst metaphors in all spiritual books and religious books and hold that up as the reason why all religion is crap, they're actually not using Mercury energy very well. If you want to see an example of this, look at Bill Maher. He's a flaming atheist. He just loves to just get on his high horse and ridicule the Bible. That's my Bill Maher interpretation. So, in other words, Noah built an ark and put all the animals on it. That's like Bill Maher's like condescending, looking down his nose at every metaphor. So it takes a lot of brains and guts to look down at religious metaphor as a way to say that we shouldn't believe in anything. See, that's it's a kind of nihilism or kind of rejection of any kind of thing that's not just hyper-literal. And of course, then you can disguise that in this, well, I believe in facts. I believe in facts, right? Believe in facts, because facts also change. So what I'm saying here is that Mercury energy is there to test our beliefs, but we have to also be able to hold the paradox that part of alluding to something that's not of this earth is to use metaphor. But of course, the other difficult thing with Mercury is when we don't test anything, like I said, and just believe everything blindly. So you'll often see things like atheism has a strong Mercury quality to it, because it's like using the intellect and outthinking ourselves and the arrogance of the intellect. So with both Mercury and Jupiter retrograde right now, both of those things can be confusing issues. And, of course, Jupiter is also just where we start to question our beliefs and start to question our teachers and those who teach us. And instead of really trusting that bigger picture, we start looking for meaning and purpose in things that are really, in fact, somewhat meaningless. We stop looking at the bigger picture and just instead paying attention to some form of it, like, for instance, money is a good example. Or even things like children, or some other kind of thing that we want to get that's going to give us hope and meaning. And this is why Jupiter is the karaka, or the indicator of children. Literally a child. You see a lot of women go through this, especially once they get to an age where they're not going to have children, or they're reaching the point where they aren't going to have any other children, and they're not really sure what to do with their life. Nothing gave them the joy that childbirth did, or that raising a child did, and nothing in their life is ever going to be that inspiring. So they just, okay, well, I guess I want to have another child, or I want to have a child. And it's kind of missing the point of what the child brings into your life. I mean, yes, the child connects you with a course of action that gives your life a meaning and purpose, but you have to be able to find it without the child as well. The child is just a teacher of the thing that gives your life meaning and purpose. And one of the problems can be that parents can derive their whole sense of meaning and purpose on their children and put a lot of pressure on their children. This is why parents can harm children by having their own identity and meaning and purpose tied up in the child. Instead of letting the child find its own meaning and purpose, the child then feels the pressure to be the meaning and purpose and the hope of the parent. So these are examples of what I'm talking about. We've seen politically in the last week or so, here in the U.S., there was a pretty prominent snub by Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu, who decided not to meet with President Obama, instead met with the head of the House of Representatives. And again, Jupiter is all over this kind of thing because the U.S. and Israel have had a very Jupiterian relationship over the years. Support, of course, it's also, there's a sort of religious overtone there because it's a Jewish state, and you know, the support from a Christian nation for the Jewish state and all of that. So Jupiter retrograde is really showing how a lot of these firmly held beliefs and sense of meaning and purpose and hope is being switched or reversed, and we're questioning those things because it's opposite Mercury, retrograde Mercury. So with both Jupiter retrograde and Mercury retrograde opposite each other, these themes of belief and what we believe in that gives us meaning and purpose being contrasted to a greater exploration and testing of those beliefs, and a and greater discrimination around what ideas actually work, which ones are just bogus, how to categorize ideas, which includes metaphor as part of a spiritual practice, and seeing how the metaphor connects to a higher reality. And that's true intelligence. Not being able to say, well, all metaphors are stupid because they're not literal. That doesn't take any intelligence or any imagination. What takes intelligence and imagination is being able to see the beauty of the metaphor in life. That's where Mercury then ascends to the highest level, where we align that nitpicky, detail-oriented quality with the bigger picture. So, big stuff happening right now with this Mercury and Jupiter both retrograde. On another level, though, you can also see in the sky right now, because Jupiter is almost exactly opposite the Sun, and that's when it's the most retrograde. That's also when it's furthest from the Earth, and that's also when it's brightest in the sky. So just after sunset now, you can see Venus rising in the west and Jupiter rising in the east. So right as sunset happens, look to the eastern horizon and you'll see Jupiter. It'll be very bright in the sky on the eastern horizon, and it's actually before sunrise. I'm sorry, it's actually before sunset. Right before sunset you can see Jupiter rise in the east, and then after sunset you'll see Venus rising in the west. So anyway, hope you're having a good Jupiter and Mercury retrograde. Be in touch.